All right, so here we are going to model Los Manantiales restaurant by Felix Candela in Rhino. And I'm on the AD Classics page where we can source, plan, and section, which we'll use to trace in Rhino and get the geometry right. But I also wanted to just point out the diagram that's here as well, which kind of shows how that geometry works. So we have a kind of hyperbolic paraboloid surface that is kind of intersecting itself. So this thing is rotated a bunch of times and then trimmed away at the opening of the vaults to produce that geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and download this image, the plan, and also that section. So go. And oh, not loading for me. There we go. All right, so over in Rhino, I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. Drag that plan in. Just place it as a picture in Rhino. And we go into top view. The only thing I'm going to really borrow from this is kind of the layout of the, you can see it actually has like 8 sides. So I'm going to draw an octagon. That will establish my 8 sides. So I'll type in polygon and command line, change the number of sides to 8. Click kind of as close as I can to that center. And I'm just going to actually snap to that, but rotate it. Let me draw a center point that I can rotate around. So to get the center point of my octagon, I'll type in area centroid. You just make a point right at the middle there. Rotate that. And hold shift to snap to ortho. So now it's pretty well aligned there. All right, that looks good. And I'll drag in my, well, oops, don't drop it on the ones you already have. Drop it somewhere in the empty space there. All right. And then we'll use that section there to kind of line it up. So I'll draw some construction lines up from the octagon. This, of course, is also the points where that vault touches down. So I'm going to move it kind of from there. All right. Sweet. So the way to model this is essentially to draw that larger surface that you saw in the diagram, which won't load for me, but this one. We're going to draw like one of these surfaces, and then we're going to trim it away and rotate it around to produce our vault shape. So to do that, I'm going to start by drawing a line. And I'm going to try and go, so I think it'll help if I kind of copy this angle that's on this plan. And I'm snapping to the vertices. I'm just going to hide my plan now for a second. I'm right at the end point there of my octagon, and I'll just scale this up around that endpoint because I want it to go past the central axis of my octagon. I'll type in mirror, make a copy of that across the center point, grab both of those and trim the loose ends, and join it. And now I have a joined polyline going through the vertices of my octagon, and I need to scale it up a little bit more so that it goes past the center point of my octagon going this way. So again, I'll type in scale, I'll grab the center of my shape, my line, and just scale it up so it's going past that center line. So then I'll grab this again and type in mirror, mirror it across the center point again, and trim the loose edges again. All right, and now we're ready to essentially draw the base surface that we have. I'm going to draw it in 2D first, so I'm just going to use the Rhino surface from 3 or 4 corner points, literally trace out my diamond shape. Then I'll jump over into perspective view here. Right. And I'll turn on control points for that surface. Points on, also this button over here if you have the standard menu open. And I'm going to drag those points up. And you can see we pretty much get kind of that saddle shape that is the vault form. Now at this point we could also kind of rotate and line up our section over. So I should also point out that, of course, it's not actually intersecting yet with our kind of octagon. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Just kind of loosely get it close to where I think it should be. Bring over to ghosted, all right. And then I'll bring the section down to kind of where it needs to hit. All right. So we can see it's a little more shallow than what we want. I'm going to turn the control points on one more time. Drag them up one more time. Also, while I'm here, a little less opaque so I can see better. All right, that's looking pretty close. All right, cool. So I think we're ready. I'm going to hide the section as well for right now, and then, actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I am. I'm going to hide the section. And then, so first thing I want to do is actually trim away, like based on the adjacent vault shape. So there's 8 of them kind of rotated around this octagon. First thing I'll do is draw a polyline. And I'm going to go again from the vertex of one edge, my octagon, to the center point and back out. Then I'll grab that shape that I just drew and type in trim and click on this side of my surface. So now I've trimmed away all of one side of my surface. So I got to trim that point off. I'll do that in just a second. But now I have kind of the end points there, so I can just grab this. I can type in move, snap to the corner point, move it down. And finally, I need to trim off that side, that kind of pointy end of the saddle shape. I will unhide my section again. Looks like we may have needed to scale it up a little more. We can do that after we've got all the segments in place. But first, I'm going to draw a plane, a trimming plane through my surface. So I'll type in, splitting plane. Right. Cut plane. I'm blanking on that command there. So type in cut plane. Cut plane will allow me to draw a line with an object selected, and it'll generate a plane that goes all the way through that object. So you can see that plane. I'll just switch back into shaded. Goes all the way through, and now I just need to tilt it so that it's matching the angle of what I see in that section there. Now, I'll grab that. I'll type in rotate 3D because I want to make sure I rotate it around this edge of the octagon. Otherwise, it won't give me won't be in the right place once I'm done rotating. And then I'll kind of match that angle. I think it is actually just 30 degrees. So type in 30. Right, and I'll hide that again. So before actually I trim it, I'm going to scale it up so it matches my curvature a little better, because otherwise it'll actually trim in the wrong spot, which is not what I want. So in order to scale it up now, I'll just type in line. Use the option vertical. I'm going to go from that point up. That way I can scale it up and not change where it's intersecting with my octagon. Again, I'll type in scale 1D. After the bottom of my line, I'll using this line as a guide, right? So I'm going to drag it up. So it's just about where we want it in terms of that, how it aligns with that section. The section's actually in the middle, so that would be a good thing to do. That's looking pretty good. All right. So now I'm going to hide the section again. Now I'm good to trim my vault. So I'll select my clipping plane, my cut plane, and trim, click the loose end. All right, so now I have what is essentially the base module of this geometry. So I'll type in rotate. Actually, I can do, let's try and do array polar. So array polar should just rotate a number of objects around the center point. Number of items I want is 8. And so if I just snap to one point of the octagon and then the next, and oh, that's not right. All right, so hit escape. Grab your vault, type in array polar, center, snap to the center point. We want 8 items. Yeah, we want it in total to go 360 degrees. So we just leave it 360. Gives us a preview. That looks good. And boom, there we go. That's the geometry. And you should be able to just grab all those and join them and have them join into one surface as well. If you are having any issues with kind of like the way the curve is looking in your viewport, if it looks a little segmented or weird, you could also rebuild that surface before you array it. You can also do it after, but I'll type in rebuild, and I'll just give it a few more control points to kind of have it hopefully show up a little cleaner. I'm the same in my viewport, but anyway, array polar, center point, 8 items, 360. There we go. And then looks pretty good in rendered view as well. All right, there you have it.